Thank you guys for being here for Friday's weekly Grace in Grief. My name is Tammy Workman-Lopez. My company is Sparks Hope, and I do this every week because people are dealing with so much. And one of the things that we do not have to be left dealing with is our emotions and any thinking that might have us stuck. And not to say that we don't need to feel them because they come up, but knowing that there's things that we can do about it, that we can feel in control of our thoughts and we can feel in control of our emotions, but we don't have to feel like we need to control it. We can just allow ourselves to work through it and it feels calm and we feel in control of that. Hey, Walter, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. I was just explaining a little bit about myself. I would have asked you first, but you didn't pop on.
All right. My
So tell me a little bit about yourself and what are some questions or some thoughts that or support that you would like to get out of today?
um I was the meeting. One of my friends, Alex Cardona, told me about the meeting. He said he did one with you back in November
Hmm.
here in Orlando, and he's one of my really close friends in Orlando. I recently lost my mom back in May. It was unexpected. It was complications from a stroke.
I'm sorry.
I was just wanting to get some tools to learn how to deal with the grief. I mean, I'm just having a lot of issues dealing with her loss because her and I spoke usually 2 to 3 times a day, and I guess I don't know what the clinical term for it would be, but I'm kind of a mama's boy, I guess you could say. I depended a lot on her. I lost my father when I was 17 to heart disease, and it was also kind of unexpected. So I just wanted to get some tools and maybe some mechanisms that I could better deal with the grief and the depression that's kind of manifested itself more so than I can even remember with my father when I was 17. I think more than anything, I was in shock then whenever that happened.
Yeah. Well, a couple things. So, being that you may have been in shock, and first off, I'm not a therapist, so I just wanted to share that. I'm a trauma-informed coach, and I work mindset reset work and anxiety relief and giving supports and tools. So it's always good to know that there's other supports, right, in therapy and things like that that can help. Um, so the areas that I am taking a look at are helping you to see if you were in shock with dad, then quite possibly you're also re-experiencing some things now. So as you experience one loss, if there's things unresolved from the other, that could definitely come up and make it feel even stronger. So keeping that in mind is really good so you can be really nurturing and comforting to yourself and realizing you may be dealing with both at the same time.
Right.
And then if there was any loss in between there, and, one of the things that I like to do, and this was going to be for next call, but we could do a little now, is being able to take a look and see what are some of the grief experiences that you could have that seem, oh, well, that didn't seem like grief, but it was. So it may be that you've just had these two experiences of death that brought this grief. But then there's also grief if you've had any changes in your life where you weren't ready for them, or you've had losses in other relationships you weren't ready for. So as you're thinking about that, can you think of other grief experiences or loss experiences that you had you didn't really think about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also lost one of my friends to colon cancer that metastasized literally about a month and a half or 2 months after um, my mom passed. And it's somebody that I tried to help as someone who's a certified personal trainer. You want to give people guidance and advice when it comes to living a healthier lifestyle, eating, supplementation, working out. But something I've realized is, the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And it was the same. A lot of that also came to with my mother, trying to guide her in the right direction with her health. And, it's like I was fighting an uphill battle all the time. She never wanted to listen. you know Maybe it's a generational thing because she was 81 whenever she passed. I think it's probably a generational thing, and growing up in that time frame at a different point in history than whenever we are where we are now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think there's been other things, as well as a relationship that happened at the very beginning of the pandemic that I experienced kind of got I went through a little bit of what my mom and I went through back in the day with my father. I dated somebody and almost lost him due to a stroke a month and a half into the relationship.
Mm,
So yeah, it's probably I have there's probably some unresolved issues I'm sure there that I've also been dealing with too.
good job that you're noticing. And so that's really helpful too. So that way, when all of this seems so huge, when you start to parse it apart,
Hmm.
you can go, okay, this is still huge.
Yeah.
And this also belongs here, and this also belongs here, and this also belongs here. So it helps us to be able to take each one on its own without having to feel it all based around mom.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
there were a couple other things that you mentioned. So you said you spoke with mom twice a day.
Yeah. 2 to 3 times.
Hmm. And so what were some of the things you guys would talk about? Like what kind of support was she for you and you for her?
Um, More than anything, I think she felt alone, and she lived 7 hours away. I think
Hmm.
part of it was loneliness.
Hmm.
Trying to kind of nudge her into moving closer to me for like the last, gosh, 12, 14 years, and she just, uh, I'm more first of my life.
Isn't it the funniest thing when you're dealing with somebody that frustrating?
Yeah, makes me want to pull my hair. It made me want to pull my hair out. I've told Alex this plenty of times. Like even one of my mentors, who's kind of like a spiritual mentor, who introduced me to Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
a, Several years ago, which definitely my life did a 180 with Wayne Dyer. I mean, I was able to definitely address some of these issues from my father's passing, but mom and I had that deep connection where she could call and we could talk about anything, um, just a variety of subjects. But if I tried to give her any kind of guidance with help, I just wanted to beat my head against a wall because it's like she wouldn't listen to anything I had to say.
Yeah, you can
And
only laugh, otherwise you cry.
yeah,
Or you just can scream. Yeah. I
yeah,
can relate. That's my side of the family. Like, well, actually that's both sides of our families. I can get it. Like that's why I laugh because I can relate so hard.
yeah,
Um, and otherwise I'd be angry, right?
yeah.
Or hurt or a whole bunch of other things. So the reason I ask though is because as you allow yourself to take that situation and look at it.
Mhm.
So mom was a friend, right?
Right.
She was somebody that you were able to talk through certain things. She was also somebody who knew your past. You knew hers, so it's not like you had to explain stuff. You just
Right.
knew. Um, she knew stuff from when you were young, so she's also kind of like part of your memory.
Yeah.
She's been your comforter. Then things began to flip, and you've been her comforter, even though she might not have listened. She still was using that connection and that support and that reinforcement every day to know she's loved and accepted. And so she still was getting a lot of support from you, even if it wasn't to take your advice.
Right.
Um, and you're right. Sometimes it is cultural at that age. It's more like the learning those things
Right.
almost is too much for them. But
Yeah.
it's unfortunately also part of the belief that emotions are not safe and, I'm not in control of my thoughts and I've just got to do whatever the doctor says and that's it all any age that
Yeah.
it's all about limiting beliefs, right?
Right.
Um, so giving yourself permission to also see it wasn't just mom that you lost. What did mom represent? That's a lot of things.
Right.
And so then you're able to also take a look at because of that, I'm not just experiencing grief, I'm experiencing sadness on other levels. I'm experiencing missing a friend, having someone to talk to, having purpose. I had purpose when I'm there supporting her. Um, just the opportunity of this person you get to hug and hold and talk to. So there's that.
Right.
So helping yourself to see what are some of these things that I can actually, that are telling me I need to bring more of it into my life.
Right.
I need to bring more of connecting to someone I can trust. And so
Right.
maybe that means creating some trust relationships. And then that's its own thing because sometimes we don't want to do that.
Right.
Or the experience of not feeling safe to do that or whatever might be going on. So that needs its own attention. Um, I had purpose when I talked to her. I felt like I could guide and connect. So if that also feels kind of empty, that would indicate needing to find more purpose where you can help someone else or help others in that way. And so then when you're able to kind of pull that apart, then you can look at the grief for mom.
Right.
So you see how each of those, as you pull it apart, just helps you to breathe a lot better?
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so then similarly with dad, right? All of that same stuff. And then the next step would be taking a look at, and I'm giving you a lot at once, um, because I don't know, when I meet someone, I don't know if I'll see them again.
Right.
Sometimes it's once, sometimes they keep coming back. But
Right.
um, then the next step would be to understand what emotions are coming up. So, for example, you're going to be feeling anger, sadness, loneliness, possibly stress, possibly anxiety, possibly disappointment, right? And most likely all of those at once,
Right.
right? And I don't know if I mentioned anger, but definitely that one. And sometimes guilt, those different emotions are coming up. Then you're going through different experiences that could be like numb, like I'm just going to avoid it altogether, right?
Right.
Um, and that's just to name a few. So as you're thinking about it, what are some of the emotions that have been coming up for you? Like if you were to name a few.
Yeah. Numbness, definitely. And
Hmm.
anger.
What was
A
that one?
Yeah, definitely anger, more self anger, more anger at myself than anything because I'm finding out a lot of these things I could have, you shoulda, woulda, coulda. You can't take back the past, obviously. What's done is done.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like I'm stumbling upon so much medical research on different things that could have helped her, and it frustrates the heck out of me when people I guess people don't listen, especially when it's family members or close friends. Whenever you give them this research, and if unless you have uh, um, a PhD or an MD or a BA after your name, a lot of people look at somebody who's a certified personal trainer and they're like, well, you know the health aspect and strength training, all this, but you know very little about that. But in reality, I have a lot of knowledge in several different areas, and it's just like it's so. I get. I think a lot of it. I've been mad at myself for not being more hands on with her. Not going to her with more doctor, going to more appointments with her doctor, and
Hmm.
out some things that I found out about her doctor, some of his misdiagnosis with some of the other local people in the area, in the Panhandle area, that I literally had my mom's yard guy tell me, Tony, one of my friends went to this same doctor that your mother went to, and they literally overlooked a big mass and this guy's chest the size of like a baseball.
Mm.
And then until he basically passed out and he fell forward and hit his head, and he spent the next like 3 weeks in a coma before he died. And it's like, why wasn't I more hands on? That's one of the biggest things is anger,
Okay.
self
So
anger.
let's jump into that one. What if anger has been taught to us incorrectly, right? Um, do you believe in God? I want to make sure I use the right term.
Yeah, higher power. You can
Okay.
it's
Say
spirit,
God and you'll be okay. Okay.
whatever you want to use.
Um, so when I say God, you can think of higher power.
Yeah.
That made me think of a song. When I say this, you say that. I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
um, anger was actually given to us to help us to see when something's unfair, right?
Right.
And so it's like if you think about the indication of a gas light that comes on, gas light comes on, it says put gas in.
Right.
Anger light comes on, it says something's unfair, set some boundaries, right? And so if God gave us these emotions to help us and not hinder us,
Right.
taking a look at anger in this way of understanding. So for example, if I'm saying to myself, I should have, I could have, and in your case, I should have been more hands-on. I could have maybe prevented this. Notice the thought is what's creating the anger.
Yes.
The truth is, you did the best you could, 100% that you could, with all the information you had at the time,
Right.
from what you're sharing with me.
Yes.
When you see that truth, what does that feel like? Does the anger feel the same?
No, it feels like it lessens some. Yeah.
Yes. So it's important to notice this anger is not about grief with mom. This anger is you practicing suffering.
Yeah.
Now, you can use it. Definitely. I love the passion and I love the, hey, we need to learn something different. And this has pushed me to learn more. And I can use this experience to move into my part of my story and part of my journey.
Right.
So you can still use it to go into this like 100% and take it as a memorial to mom versus I'm going to use this and I'm going to beat the hell out of myself in the whole process because I should have done it different with my mom.
Right.
Right? Now that could be your story when you share with others. If I had known this, maybe
Right.
then the next story, and I'll, as a fitness coach, right? The next story gets to be, but we don't need to should on ourselves
Yeah.
because that actually hurts.
Right.
Literally, it will damage you and make you sick,
Yeah.
right? So noticing that thought process creates the emotion of anger. And anger is there to tell us that something's unjust and unfair. Is it unjust and unfair that mom died? Yes.
Yeah.
Death in itself is unfair. Is there a boundary we could set around that? You did, right? The boundary you set was I spent as much time as I could with my mom. I was okay with calls so she didn't feel lonely. I was the support for her. I let her be a support for me, so it felt really good. I created as much connection as I could. I gave her as much guidance as I could. I learned as much as I could to help her at the time. So that was your boundaries.
Right.
So instead of all the beat up, shift into the truth. So you remove the suffering
Right.
and then you're just in the grief.
Right.
And here's the thing, the practice of suffering and the overthinking and all of that stuff is actually a coping technique.
Right. Okay.
If I say so focused here, I don't have to sit in, this hurts like hell, right?
Right.
But if you can allow yourself to use that coping to guide you in a different direction, to use it like we were talking about, and to be able to sit with the grief in a beautiful way, right? Like, you know, when people die, they realize that we are energy. So
Right.
we don't die, right? So whether we go to heaven, whether we are in the memory tombs of God and will be born again, but our information and memories stay. The energy sent to us when we're dead in that experience goes to God, which then goes to us. So it's still a connection of energy,
Right.
whatever it looks like to whatever belief. Even if we're all, as you're saying, universe,
Yeah.
we are all a culmination of energy. So no matter which way you believe, you can still speak to her and still connect to her, and her being is part of you always, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
No, that's true. I definitely get it. I mean, I believe in the energy. Matter can't be created nor destroyed. It can only change form.
So
Uh,
what can you say to her in the moments that you're grieving that pulls you from suffering of should haves into what I'm grateful for?
yeah. True.
Right? And so what are some examples? What are some things you can say to yourself? You could use it as an anchor. If any of those negative thoughts come up, use that as a reminder. Oh, nope, I'm not going to practice that for
Right.
suffering. I'm going to
Right.
use that instead to share with myself and share with my mom what I'm grateful for.
Right. Things that you're grateful for, like basically that she raised me with good values and morals and ethics, and taught me the value of a hard day's work. Her and my father did, and was a good mother, was kind and caring, and everything all in that direction. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And the moments and the memories and some of the stuff that was annoying that can make you laugh and
Yeah.
some of the stuff that makes you cry but happy cry, some of the stuff that can make you sad cry but not this sad, a different sad, like those experiences. And when you think of that, how does that feel with that anger?
It feels better looking at it from that perspective. Yeah, it does. Finding things to be grateful for that she did while she was here on the earth. Yeah, that's a better way to look at it and to process it. Yeah.
The beautiful thing, as we're shifting our mindset, it actually helps us to change our past. It helps us to change our present, and it helps us to change our future.
Right.
So before you got on the call, if you were to give a number for that level of anger, what would you give it? 0 to 10.
The anger that I kind of I'm working through currently,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say probably like a 4 to 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now that you've done this work, what would you say it is now?
It's less than probably 3.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And so from 4 to 6 to 3, and you can continue to allow yourself to practice this, just being in love with the relationship, in love with mom, and being in that space with the grief, that the grief is there to help you um, remember how much you love her,
Right.
right? And remind you that you can still speak with her and talk with her and allow that to be voiced instead of telling yourself things like, I've lost you, I'll never be able to talk to you again, and holding your voice in,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that removes the suffering aspect.
Yeah, I definitely speak to her a lot. I mean, I've had some spiritual experiences and I've seen signs that I can't logically explain. It's just hard. I mean, they say humans see less than 1% of the visible light spectrum. We as humans only see less than 1%. So I sense, I know she's around. It just frustrates me that I can't, pick up the phone and call her. That's the biggest part, you know.
Yeah. So then take a look at, okay, so what am I frustrated about? I'm frustrated that I can't tell you I love you, or I'm frustrated that, you were my friend that I could tell these things to, right?
Right.
So some of it can't be, there's not a fix. It's just a sitting with and just saying out loud, letting yourself say out loud what you in that moment said, I can't do. Mom, I love you and I miss your voice, right? And there may be a grief experience and let yourself have that grief experience.
Right.
And then you feel clear. It's like when you see a little kid have a fit and then they're fine, the emotions need to be allowed to clear through,
Right.
right? And there is a level of you miss that person.
Yeah.
And that's both beautiful and sad at the same time. And
r-
when you can be in the beauty and the joy and the sadness and the love, then it begins to feel lighter and lighter and lighter,
Right.
right? Um, oh, there was something else I wanted to say. Hmm, that one flew away.
Oh,
With the frustration. So just giving yourself permission, because frustration indicates that there's some emotion that's spiked, and it's usually more than one. So being
right.
able to take a look at what is the thought that I have that's leading to this frustration, and are there any other emotions?
Right.
And so then you can give each one attention. So I really hope that today was supportive for you. A couple things that I did want to share, just in additional resources. I have a Grace in Grief program that's getting started on the 25th. And
Okay.
so being able to practice these tools is super important,
Right.
and kind of catching things and seeing things and continuing to do that. And when stuff comes up, being able to work it out and talk about it. And it's going to be a small, intimate group. And so if it's something that you're interested in, let me know.
Yes,
Um,
I'm interested in it. Yeah, definitely.
okay, perfect. So just after this, you could shoot me a text message. The
Okay.
number is over there. You could shoot me a text message. You could also send me your contact information here if you
o-
want in the chat.
Okay.
If you reply just to me, it'll only show. Actually, this is a recording and no one else is here, so no one else will see it if you just want to put in the,
Okay.
because that part doesn't show up. And then also, I could mention to you when we talk, there's a platform that for those of us who are entrepreneurs and teaching that I have found that I'm excited to share. It's about being able to put your programs on it. And it's also an affiliate program. So once your program is on there and you have your courses and stuff like that, then you can share the link out to other affiliates and they share it out. And
Right.
then we do the same vice versa. So it's like having a team.
Okay.
Um, and then there's some other really cool things. It also includes AI and it includes CRM and all this fun stuff in one platform.
Okay.
So just as a business owner, that's a supportive thing. So I try to help people in a holistic manner.
Right.
Um, So yeah, so I did see your number pop up there. Let me go ahead and grab it.
Okay.
And did you have any questions? Let me see. Where did it go? One sec.
If you didn't get it, I can always text it to you. I took a screenshot of the of the background with all your contact info on it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I got your number too. Let me just
Yeah.
jot it.
No, actually, I think you addressed them. I think definitely I would like to maybe set up some more chat with you if that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will shoot you a text message, and you can also ask or message me, and you can also ask. Um, just say, hey, this is Walter, but I'm gonna do it right now so I don't forget. Um, so I'm here the first, the third, and the fourth Friday of every month.
Okay. So not the second Friday, just first, third,
Just
fourth.
not, yeah. It's just easier. Like I was saying every Friday, but actually no, not that one because I have an event that I have to go to that I run, so I'm not able to do it that day.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tammy.
You're very welcome, Walter. I look forward to connecting with you. I'll talk with you soon. You
Talk.
take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.